Today on Alley Picked, I'm going to show you how you can frame your own artwork, including cutting the mats, cutting glass, repainting an old frame, even adding depth to a narrow frame. These, plus a bunch of other cool things along the way. Welcome to Alley Picked. One of my first jobs during my high school years was working at an art framing studio. I learned how to cut frames and mats, cut and clean glass, some valuable skills that have served me well over the years. Now, I've been doing my own framing for so long that I never realized how much these places actually charge. I went to this popular craft chain store near me called Michael's to get a quote for this artwork that I'm going to be showing you today. I got a quote for a simple, low-cost frame with a double mat, and the artwork's approximately 12 inches by 12 inches. It's a counted cross-stitch picture that my wife made. Guess how much they wanted to frame it? $170. Now, for that price, you can buy all the parts, do it yourself, including the mat cutter.
I like it.
I start off using this old frame, which I picked up at a garage sale. Since I will be double matting this picture, the frame does need to be larger than the picture which I'm framing. How much bigger? Well, it's just a personal preference. The frame also needs to be deep enough to accommodate the thickness of the glass, the two mats, and the board which I'll be mounting the artwork to. This frame is plenty deep. If you do need a deeper frame like the one in this picture, I simply added a wood frame around the inside using thin strips of plywood. If you don't have plywood, you can even use an old yardstick. If the frame was way too large, I could always cut it down smaller and re-glue the corners. Now, if I did that, I'd have to use a clamp like this to hold it together while it was drying. This frame is a good size, so I'm going to measure the inside dimensions and use those dimensions to cut 4 things: the glass, the foam board, which I'm going to mount the artwork on, and the 2 mats. For the mats, I went to the craft store near me, which has a large selection. I selected these 2, which I thought would be a nice accent to the artwork. If you need a piece of glass for your frame, you can cut one down, or in my case, I didn't have one, so I went to the local Ace Hardware and they cut the exact size I needed. The most challenging part of this project will be to cut the 2 mats. For the first mat, I'll measure the length and width of the artwork where I want the mat to cover. For the second mat, I'll make it 3/8 of an inch wider than the opening of the first mat. Now, this is just a preference. This is my mat cutter. I bought it secondhand. It is pretty old, but when you take care of your things, they last you a long time. The mat cutter is really a very simple tool. This hold down bar keeps the mat board in place while you cut. This adjustable fence serves as a stopper for the mat board. I have 2 blade types. One is beveled. The bevel cutter blade is on a 50-degree angle. The other is a straight 90-degree cut. I never use this one. Here's how this works. Let's say that I wanted to cut a 1.5 inch border around my whole mat. I make a mark at the 1.5 mark on all 4 sides. Then I'll draw this box on the back of the mat. Next, set the adjustable fence to 1.5 inches. Place the mat board face down. Place the bevel cutter onto the track or groove in the mat cutter. On the back end of the cutter is this center line. Line this up with the pencil line you drew on the back of the mat board. Press down the blade lever. This will cause the blade to puncture the mat board. Now, slide this to the left until the center line intersects with the left pencil line that you drew. Repeat the same process for all 4 sides. If you did it right, the center square should pop right out. This mat was just a sample. My actual mat is bigger, and the box I drew on the back is a rectangle instead of a square. Same principle applies. For the backing of the artwork, I'm using a 1/4-inch foam board. You can use cardboard or even a piece of wood. It can be difficult to line up all the pieces perfectly, so here's what I do. I start by gluing the first mat right to the picture with some spray glue on the back of the mat. Here I'm using the cutout piece of the mat for support. Now spray some glue to the foam board and line them up, the mat and the artwork, with the foam board. Now we're ready for the frame. A couple of light coats of black spray paint and this frame has a completely new look. You can even pick up old frames and glass really cheap at estate sales. If you do need to cut your own glass, you can use these standard hardware store cutters or a professional cutter which has a chamber for oil. It's better to use one with the oil. There's less chance of chipping or breaking where you don't want the glass to break. For cleaning the glass, I use any cheap window cleaner and newspaper. It might take a couple of cleanings to get it perfect. Now we're in the home stretch. To secure the artwork, I use metal diamond-shaped points. There's various types. These can be pushed in using the wide end of a screwdriver. I also happen to have a diamond point gun. Pull the trigger and it shoots a single diamond point into the frame. With the art secure, I could hang the picture, but I like to give it a classy finish by putting a back on it using some brown paper. I've even used paper bags for this. To keep the paper in place while drying, I'll put this piece of carpet square on it. After about an hour, I remove the excess using some sandpaper on a block of wood. Last step, which will amaze your friends and family, using water in a spray bottle, gently spray the paper, wipe it down, and let it dry. Soon it will tighten up. It'll be like a drum. I wasn't kidding. Lastly, mark the center of the frame at the top and mount the hanger. There it is, the finished product. If you've never framed anything this complicated before, it might take you a little time to get good at it, but once you know how to do it, you can save yourself a ton of money, have a useful skill, and, well, make yourself a set of drums.